Without further ado, hello everyone. A real pleasure and honor to have all of you here this afternoon. I'm happy to share with you my topic for today. And as you can see here, it's about, are English-speaking Arabic natives well recognized in digital speech recognition tools? That's a big question here. However, this is a question that occurs to all of us as language practitioners, non-native language practitioners. In my case, less recognized languages. So let's explore that together. And for starters, I would like you here to first tell me what you think. You can consider that, okay, question, and let's start by our own perceptions. How far do you feel represented when you deal with tools such as YouTube online and you see captions, similar tools? You feel well represented, yes or no? And you can go to this link. If you have your cell phones, you can scan the QR code. I'll be happy to see your responses. Let's look at that together. You should be able to see that. All right, I'm getting responses here. Yes or no? More responses. Just a quick impression here before we start. Okay. More? Okay. Yeah, some more. Okay, it's like 1/3 versus like 2/3. All right, sounds interesting, looks really interesting. Let's go or let's explore that together. This is a journey, and to explore that together, please add your questions and comments along the way so I'm able to address them clearly at the end of this presentation. Again, you can add those questions and comments so we share them all in one space. For now, let's look at how I started this journey. This is some background here where this has come from. I was interested to know how far online tools such as closed captions, subtitles, live transcriptions, etc., reflect our linguistic reality as non-native speakers, especially Arabic speakers speaking in English, in terms of articulation, you see, pronunciation, phonemes, stress intonation, etc., versus native speakers. Now, I needed to nail it down to a question, so I started with this. How accurate are speech-to-text tools in recognizing speech of Arabic native speakers in English? Now, I thought of a very simple exploratory study, and I divided it into 2 stages. Participants, I just sent out a call inviting people, try to make sure they are native Arabic speakers who are practitioners in English, teaching English. I came up with 20. Now, who are they? The majority, as you can see, from Egypt. 3, participants from other countries. So I thought maybe I need to zoom in on the 17 participants. Now, what is it that I targeted? I wanted some sort of product and outcome to analyze that included audio, closed captions, and live transcripts, all in one place. That video or a screencast capturing the 3. How can I possibly get there? Well, first, I looked at speech to text tools. All right, what's most accessible and familiar to me? So to do that, I used an audio recording tool. It's available anywhere, okay? Cell phone, online, offline. So creating an MP3, and I wanted something that could actually represent, okay, whatever in that audio. And interestingly, what's most accessible to me was Zoom. Zillion others are out there, but Zoom is so user-friendly, as you can see. You can activate those features. While we're at it now, we can do that, right? So these two together, I wanted to look at another aspect of speech recognition, text-to-speech tools, right? And here, it's the automated version, all right? So here is a free one called naturalreaders.com. And again, this is a very simple tool to use where you feed in your text and it reads it out to you, and you can download the audio. Now, first part here, stage one, I needed to create baselines to compare up against, right? How do I start? I needed to have some baseline, human and automated. So first, I needed actually to go through these steps. Read aloud an English text and audio record it to create a baseline for speech to text. Next, use an automated voice generator tool to create a baseline for text-to-speech. Next, use a video conferencing tool to capture text, audio, and video. Next, enable speech-to-text features inside that tool in order to create screencast videos. Finally, look at that, the products, and check closed captions and transcripts for accuracy. Now, in stage one, creating a human voice baseline. I use myself, not so bad for starters, representing non-native speakers of Arabic, So I went through that process. First, I audio recorded myself while reading aloud that English text. Next, I enabled closed captioning and live transcription while playing my audio. Next, I created a screencast with text, audio, and video, as I told you before. And that gave me the time and, that gave me some sort of product to analyze. I compared my production to on-screen closed captioning and live transcripts. The nice thing here, it's very interesting to consider or reflect on playbacks of yourself. You'll be amazed, okay, on what you're going to find out about yourself. Now, in that very same stage, I needed to look at or to create an automated voice generation baseline. Very much the same process, but here, instead of that reading out, it's like feeding in the text into the generator. And again, it's read out and closed captioning, live transcripts, screencast, and finally, me comparing the production of that automated voice up against the transcripts and closed captions. So having done that, let's look together at a sample. Okay, and here is the automated baseline. I'd like you to look at the bottom of the screen where there are captions and the right hand of the screen where is the live transcript. All right, so look at that and how it's done. I've muted the audio just for you to focus. Check how similar, how different. Check how accurately that is represented. Wonder if you find that well represented or not. Let's look at that now. Having looked at that, let's look at the same actually. We're going to look at other baselines in a few, but yeah, here, just give me a moment. Yeah, stage 2 now. All right, having done the baselines, we're going to look at the participants and what they went through. So the very same process again. Read out, self-recorded, watched here the first video. They had to go through like we did. Okay, I did, and considered myself and my own performance. I asked them to look at it, their own performance, and compare it to the generated or the captions and live transcripts. The nice thing here, I asked them to reflect on it and tell me their feedback. Okay, how far do you feel accurately represented by the tool? And receiving their own perceptions and me analyzing both their performance and perceptions. I also asked them to watch the second video, okay, of the automated generator, the automated voice, and see again how accurate or inaccurate it is. Finally, the perceptions part, where I asked them questions and they responded to me. And it was not thoroughly explored. I think at this stage it was just done, so on a very surface level. Needs to go deeper, but remember, this is a pilot, exploratory, nothing too guided yet. Now, here is a sample. And this one here does not represent the higher proficiency level one. Again, I want you to look carefully at the bottom, the captions, versus the live transcripts on the right-hand side. Take note of your perceptions here, impressions. Does that look like the previous baseline of automated voice? How similar or different? Is that comprehensible or incomprehensible? Can you figure out what is being said? Okay, we'll stop here and move on to another sample. This one is on the higher end, okay, mid-high. So let's look at that together, all right? And again, I want you to go through the process. This time you're going to listen to the participant. Sorry.
As an Egyptian history practitioner, I'm an avid user of technologies, especially those that have been known as Web 2.0 tools. I'm almost most fascinated by multimedia tools that can integrate voice and image for personalized learning. Voice to text and text to speech technologies have also been a great fascination. Still, it is challenging to find ones relevant to my context. To illustrate, I'm happy to see a Middle Eastern male character and a female character with a headscarf in a tool like Vaki. However, on checking auto-captioning of my YouTube videos, my accent is often unrecognized, resulting in numerous inaccuracies. In real life, my accent is perceived as clear, although not native. This is
Okay. Now, I hope that was clear, and I just want you to consider certain bits, okay? If I think that was a lot more comprehensible, and I wonder if you have taken note of both the captions below and the live transcript, and whether there were issues with pronunciation in certain bits, maybe certain phonemes or stress, and how far that was recognized by the e-tools here. So maybe play it one more time for that purpose.
As an Egyptian history practitioner, I'm an avid user of technologies, especially those that have been known as Web 2.0 tools. I'm almost most fascinated by multimedia tools that can integrate voice and image for personalized learning. Voice to text and text to speech technologies have also been a great fascination. Still, it is challenging to find ones relevant to my context. To illustrate, I'm happy to see a Middle Eastern male character and a female character with a headscarf in a tool like Vaki. However, on checking auto-captioning of my YouTube video, my accent is often unrecognized, resulting in numerous inaccurate, although not native. This is
Okay, so keep note of your impressions and perceptions here. And let's move on to stage 2 again, where I asked after, okay, participants went through the process of recording, comparing themselves to the e-scripts and comparing themselves to the automated generated version. I asked them a couple of questions here, a full list of questions, but I captured the ones that directly relate to the area we are discussing today. Now, speech to text tools, such as voice typing in Google Docs, auto captioning, and audio transcripts in Zoom or YouTube, convey my speech accurately or inaccurately. Here, the focus on inaccurately. So how far do they agree or disagree? Apparently, 70% agreed that they are misrepresented or inaccurately misrepresented here, or sorry, inaccurately represented by the e-tools. Well, depending on where you stand, and again, it all depends on your level of awareness and other factors involved. A second question here, speech or text-to-speech tools are accurate in producing English texts in terms of accent, stress, and intonation. This is in reference to the automated version or the automated voice. So apparently, you look here at the majority, 65% agree that the automated version is well represented and accurately represented. Now, let me just share with you the way I approached that whole exploratory journey before looking into the products, the videos and the perceptions and all. I had certain assumptions. My first is evidently there are embedded standard English varieties with pronunciation rules that are fed into e-tools, right? We know that because we do have corpora and we do have dictionaries and we have rules, okay, that are there, and we teach them actually to our students, right? So there is something to go by. If you feed that or these rules, definitely the production of that tool is going to be high, is going to be accurate. Now, looking at other languages. Now, to the best of my knowledge, according to my own, which is a less recognized language, Arabic. Now, I don't know of a standard Arabic English variety with pronunciation rules. I'm aware of other languages like, ESL versions like Indian English, Singlish, etc. There seems to be rules. They do have dictionaries, and you can really come up with generalizations. There are patterns. So these are captured, right? And there seems to be some rules to go by. We don't have something similar, to the best of my knowledge, in EFL contexts. And keep in mind the complexities of Arabic. We have a different version. The spoken is different from the written. We don't speak as we write. That's one complexity. Two, we do have dialects across the board. Egypt, Syria, Gulf, Morocco, etc., etc. Not only this, within every single dialect, there seems to be various accents, and so on and so forth. How can we come up with generalizations, even if we take the most representative in each? And keep in mind, non-natives speaking in English, so that's a very long, complicated process. More assumptions. I could easily recognize pronunciation issues. We all have pronunciation issues, highly proficient or not, as non-native speakers. Now, the point is, I could pinpoint some of these issues myself. So this is something I noted down while looking at the different videos and the different data coming out and the different transcripts. Here, something else I assumed has to do with the participants' own performance versus the automated voice baseline. Now, it's a cognitive process. It's either you compare yourself to the transcripts only, or you do something more and you compare yourself against the other automated version, which is a little bit more complicated. It's a deeper level of comparison. So right from the beginning, I had no high expectations here. I knew that some would do that. Some would go and compare, looking at both products, all right, to have better perceptions about how far the e-tools are representative or accurate. And of course, some would simply ignore that automated voice baseline and just look at their own performance up against how it's represented in the captions and transcripts. Overall, I expected inaccurate recognition of non-native speech as a natural product. Now, here are some of my observations. Accuracy. Now, in terms of accuracy of closed captioning and transcripts, now, naturally, the automated voice was quite high, with a few exceptions, mind you. Now, in certain names, for example, Boki was transcribed as Falky. In pronunciation of a noun such as complaint, it was transcribed as complained. All right, so it's not 100% watertight representation here. Participants who were higher up, quite comprehensible, had a high to medium accuracy level in representation versus, of course, when there are incomprehensible occasions here, definitely low accuracy. Add to that some intriguing observations, things I did not really expect. Closed captions and live transcripts were not identical all the time. I wonder if you've noticed in some of the screencasts I shared, especially with participants, you would find something down there and something different on the side. And I'm not really sure why this is happening. All right, so this is something to look at, where this is coming from. I assumed that, well, this is the same as that, especially it's one and the same tool. Zoom has both features. So why is this happening? I'm just curious to know. Something even more interesting, it's about mispronounced words that I could easily recognize. I've come across, for example, captioning instead of captioning, for example. So it was easily recognized, corrected, and recognized and typed by the e-tool. Algorithms are now so sophisticated to track and actually transcribe to the nearest known English word. And that's the beauty of it. Even if it receives input that is erroneous, it represents it to the nearest, accurate word. Automated baseline, of course, was compared by some, ignored by others. Now, I've come up with this big observation and preliminary conclusion that speech recognition tools have a great potential for anyone speaking in English. And let me underline the word English. I'm not really sure about other languages yet. How far speakers of Spanish, for example, feel represented, Chinese, maybe other languages. Questions to ponder, and I'd like to invite you now to think about these with me. Question number 1, can closed captioning and live transcription help non-native speakers better perceive their own mispronunciation? Second, can they facilitate native, non-native communication in real time? Keep in mind, we're communicating now. If we're having a conversation and you don't really understand what I'm saying, I'm incomprehensible to you, this could be terribly frustrating. This is a barrier, communicating in a virtual kind of context. So would that better help? Would that sort of help the conversation to move on, minimize breakdowns? Now, something everyone is talking about now, early in the morning, we heard Ron Moraint talk about ChatGPT, the next best thing here. Quite trendy and amazing AI technology. Artificial intelligence is mind-blowing, terribly scaring, but mind-blowing. Now, can that technology, which is again along the lines of speech recognition, and not just speech recognition, it's speech production, responding to your queries, can that help non-natives better understand English native speakers? Can these technologies improve their spoken performance in English? I've tried that myself with more basic versions of AI, the Siri version on cell phones and computers. Well, I was disappointed. I claim to be quite comprehensible, but whatever I said, well, sorry, I can't understand. Can you please repeat? And it seems like it didn't really help much when questions or sentences got longer, or deeper. It needed some very basic stuff. My understanding, GPT deals with more sophisticated kind of questions. So let me play with that. Now, another question is, how can these tools be incorporated in TESOL? Classes, with teachers, with students, etc. Now, this is a question to all of us. There are all these tools, affordances, free, available. We have students who are crazy about such technology. Are we able to accommodate that? Are we able to include that in our lesson plans? We have to really. We have to try find ways. The sky is our limit. Let's be creative. Let's share. That's why we're here today. That's why we do professional development. This is a personal kind of question coming up here. A less recognized language, like Arabic, for example. So can speech recognition tools similarly represent us in our own native language, right? I'm not talking English, speaking in English, but speaking in my own native tongue. Have you tried that on YouTube, looking at your own captions on screen when you're speaking in Arabic? Did you consider that one time? How does it look like to you? Does it look like something understandable, gibberish? Can we turn on transcripts in Arabic? And that would be like automatic production that is accurate? Yes or no? We're not really sure about that. Subtitling and captioning in other languages, such as Arabic, well, is a big question. Last, can these tools help generate non-existent standard pronunciation tools? I don't know of such rules myself. I'd like to know about them, and I'm there to sort of explore them myself. So curious. I would like to see if these tools help me come up with generalizations myself. And as a group here, as practitioners, are we able to collaborate, have projects that would help us come up with these rules, teachable rules that we can use with ourselves, with our students, and share, feed into e-tools as such? That's a question to ponder here. And now over to you, ladies and gentlemen. This is time for sharing your questions and comments. I'll be happy to look at those together. Let's again go back to that questions and comments slide. So please scan the QR code on your cell phones or go to the link, and I'll be happy to share with you, and we'll be receiving those in the chat box. If there were more in the chat box, our moderators can share those as well. So any questions? You simply ask a question.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a wonderful one, Dr. Hanaa. Really, really a wonderful one. And, you know, it touched an important part, which is maybe that we can't find something related to our own language. I mean, Arabic, especially, you know, in well-known platforms like YouTube and other platforms, you know, just like the example that you mentioned earlier about the transcripts. We cannot, you know, turn on this tool or this feature when you speak Arabic. It's just in English, right? And you tested yourself another tool to recognize your own native language, and it didn't work that well. So, of course, it was, you know, a critical topic to talk about. So let me read some of the comments from the people here. So of course, some of the comments were about the intonation wasn't 100 accurate for the tool you talked about. So Yunus and Sarah said the same thing. Sarah said some words were not correctly recognized, and you already talked about that. Lubna and Yunus were talking about showing some live steps or sharing a video showing the process in detail.
Yeah, I got the videos, but I showed snippets of that. Yeah, I'll be happy to share. But remember, this kind of data, well, should be anonymized, because this is part of, being, courteous. And again, this has to do with scientific kind of research. You don't disclose participants, so I have to do some anonymization here.
Okay. Samah says, I need to know how I can improve at automated voice website.
You need, automated websites. Is that the question? Or
yeah, automated voice website.
Automated, like I shared that website, which is, let me go back to the slides.
Okay.
This is naturalreaders.com. If you would like to sample it out, all right, and feed in any text, just copy and paste, get it to read it out, all right. That helps in reading aloud activities, by the way. You can actually, I like that kind of activity. So here, I would listen to that as a model. I download the file, and I may ask students to do that often. Do the same thing, read out, sort of self-record and download the MP3 in order to give them feedback. They can do that kind of self-recording thing. Not just that, there are those tools that give you feedback, listen to you, self-record, yourself. They tell you how accurate you are. There are the more expensive ones, but the very simple ones that are free, like I think there is one that is called Elsa Speak. This is a lovely one, really. I simply adore it. So let me put it in the chat box. It's called Elsa Speak. It's got an online version, and it's web-based, and it's downloadable, so you can find it on cell phone mobile version. Lots of freebies. I like that one part where you speak and it gives you feedback, okay, how much you're accurate. And it has this.
I tried it myself before.
How did you do? Tell me.
Yeah, 95%.
Really? Because to me, I tried the online test. There is that assessment test. I did terribly in that test. It was too rough on me. I don't know why. The other one, the mobile-based version was a lot more merciful on me. I don't know. I couldn't read myself. It gives you words and sentences, so it works on both levels. And definitely, it's not just about phonemes and stuff. It tests your stress and intonation too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, actually, we have another question here from Saf from Syria. He says, "Thank you, Mentor Hanaa.
Saf from Syria. Hi, Safwan.
Safwan, your contributions to TESOL are always creative. Can you please tell us further on how we can apply this in teacher training sessions, both face-to-face and online?"
Well, and a very interesting question. The sky is your limit, but to start with, if you would like to train your teacher trainees, for example, how to improve their own performance, keep in mind as teachers, number one factor is how we speak, all right? So in order to just, it doesn't have to be accent, but it's just like proper, being comprehensible is what matters most, being accurate, because we're models to ours. Get your teacher trainees to practice with these. And definitely those teaching pronunciation in classes, there are pronunciation lessons. We used to do that in a very tedious way when we were undergrads. I remember transcribing in hand, and it was so useless. I didn't really learn much. I mean, doing these there are these charts and symbols and stuff, APA and stuff. I mean, it was tedious, and I learned nothing out of that. The beauty of such tools you listen to yourself, you listen to the model and repeat, and listen to yourself, self-record, listen back. It's an amazing kind of experience. So that's the long and short of it.